Welcome y bienvenidos to this episode of the Cultural Capacity Podcast. I am your host for this episode, Justine Gonzalez. I want to encourage you right now to make sure that you put a little mental note reminder to yourself to check out all of the resources in our show notes. There's a whole section always that says resources, and any of the aligned things that we have in the episodes are there. I am excited to be coming to you from my front patio. So if you hear, first of all, it's a little uneven with the video here, but if you hear the birds, it's because I love being outside, and we finally have some warm enough weather in the Chicago area of the United States to actually be outside. And I get to be at home today, so I'm very grateful for that. But I wanted to hop on really quick and just talk a little bit about what does it mean to keep going and keep showing up, even when maybe we feel like others aren't, right? Or maybe if you've ever heard the phrases like, oh, they're not pulling their weight. Remember that we all have different levels of bandwidth. One of the things that I was studying the other day had to do with just bias in how we define intelligence, right? So especially cross-culturally, one of the things to consider is sometimes somebody might say, oh, they're really, really smart, or that was a really smart idea. All of that really depends on your perspective and what you measure as valuable, right? There's certain settings or situations where it might be really powerful for you to know how to conduct certain types of research. There's other settings and situations where it might be really powerful and helpful for you to know how to work on a car. And so I think when we speak about intelligence and we have this mindset of there's only one way, whether it's how we believe, our set of beliefs, our belief systems, our norms that we operate by, how we choose to communicate, how we prioritize what we place importance on. I think it's really healthy and helpful to make sure that we don't have or try to push those same expectations on others. I know that I really struggle with this, but it's very, very important at different points. I think all of us do, including with our romantic partners, right? There's a reason why you sometimes disagree on things and have arguments. So I'm saying all that to say, remember to be gentle with yourself. And when you're asking, what does it mean to keep going? I think it's easy to look at what other people might not be doing, or maybe what you perceive they're not doing, and fixate on what needs fixing versus what should you focus your energy and attention on. And that is what I'm finding is to be very paramount in how I navigate and manage my own time and energy, not only for myself, but with others, is actually examining, what motivates a person, what makes them feel successful, what do they hold as valuable, and not expecting that that's going to be exactly the same as it is for me or the person next to me, or, et cetera, et cetera. And that's something I want to remind us of, because we often get pulled into different settings and situations, specifically professionally, where we can have miscommunications and disagreements, and it can really hamper not only our morale, but our willingness to collaborate with other people. And I think the most important thing to remember when you feel like throwing in the towel, or maybe somebody doesn't understand you, or vice versa, it's important to remember what is really your purpose. And I keep pondering this a lot, actually, the past couple of weeks, when it comes to purpose, and remembering that no one can carry your purpose and your vision for your legacy like you can. And so consider that, consider that when you think about how you hold yourself accountable for the goals in your life, for how you show up for others. And that a lot of times, yes, we can motivate, we can encourage others to step up, and that we see things in them maybe they don't see in themselves. But at the end of the day, we can control one person, and that is ourselves. So when you're thinking about expectations of others, and even just management of yourself, remember that there's always more underneath. There's always more to the story. And we each only know ourselves, through and through. And that should be our fixation first and our focus, meaning, how do I manage myself? How do I manage myself? How do I manage my own expectations of self? If I find myself being like super critical, for example, am I then turning around and inadvertently doing that to other people that I work alongside, even if it's a subconscious thing? So just doing some weekly reflection here. And I encourage you to check out the resources. There's two that I specifically ask. There's a giving campaign for a nonprofit where I serve on the board. Even if you can only give $5 a month, please go check out those initiatives. We would love your support with increasing the number of teachers of color across the United States, specifically some of our teacher programs for Black educators. And so check that out in the show notes for Educate Me Foundation. And the other is a program for K-12 educators hosted by Dr. Barnes, Dr. Shante Barnes, and myself. Make sure that you check out that free webinar if you've had any goals about writing a book. I actually just announced, I will also link, we just did an Instagram live last night. I will link that as well. Her and I did, and I make an exciting announcement in it as an author. So be sure to check that out if writing books is your thing, or if you just want to, see what I'm up to and what I'm going to be publishing next. So, okay, this has been this episode of the Cultural Capacity Podcast. Oh, I know what else I was going to let you all know. Make sure that you're checking out the featured voices. Hit subscribe on our YouTube page. I cannot wait until the June episode comes out next week. You can expect that our cadence now should be around the first of every month or the first Friday of every month for our extended featured voices episodes with guests here at the Cultural Capacity Podcast. And I cannot wait for you to be introduced to our next guest. She just had an article published in the Harvard Business Review. It was released this past week, and it's doing very, very, very well. Very excited for her and excited to have you learn from her. It was such a powerful conversation. So go check out May's, Brad Klossman. His is still up, as well as all of our previous Featured Voices episodes. And we're so grateful for you following the journey and most of all, committing to yourself. So let's continue to get compassionately curious together. Until next time, take care.